Working harder is not a strategy. It's a habit from an earlier decade that your body no longer supports and your business no longer requires. The owners who last are not the ones who push the hardest. They are the ones who manage their energy the best. So thank you for listening to Routine is Revenue, your place to build routines and bank results. I'm Ildikó Sealey, a later life entrepreneur, otherwise known as an entrepreneur, who has learned that building a business in your 40s, 50s and beyond means working with your biology as standard. So this episode is for you if you are building a business later in life and you have noticed that your energy does not last the way it used to. If you are ready to manage your stamina intelligently rather than just pushing through, this one is for you. Now, in this routine reset, we're going to look at energy capacity in later life entrepreneurship. And I will cover managing stamina, managing recovery, and output differently than in earlier decades. And altogether, how working with your biology rather than against it is the foundation of sustainable long-term performance. You see, there is a particular kind of exhaustion that later life entrepreneurs know well. And it's not laziness or a lack of commitment, but it's the result of applying a work ethic built in your 30s to a body and a nervous system in its 50s without any adjustment for what's changed. But a lot of things have changed. Energy works very differently now. You see, it's not worse, it's just different. But the examples of that are that recovery takes longer after intense periods. Sustained peak performance requires more deliberate management. And the burst and crash cycle that was uncomfortable in your 30s, well, it just becomes genuinely costly in your 50s. Yet, many of the business owners I work with are still operating as if the rules were the same as they always were. You know, long hours, skipped meals, no real recovery time, and the false conviction that pushing harder will get them there faster. But that's exactly what it is. It's just a false conviction. Because it will not get there faster or get them there faster. Actually, over time, it's the opposite that happens. Because the burnout risk in later life entrepreneurship, it's not just physical. It erodes the clarity and the confidence that you need to lead your business. So here's what I know from my own experience. Since building my own morning routine exactly 4 years ago, my energy levels have been the highest they have ever been. I'm the fittest I've been as an adult, and I'm building a business from scratch while maintaining a health practice that compounds every single day. But I'm also building a business from scratch. And I will not pretend that tiredness is not real, because it really is real. What's different now is that I know the difference between tiredness, that means I've done good work, and tiredness, that means I've been running on empty. You see, one restores with sleep and recovery, while the other one accumulates. And the key here is knowing which one you are dealing with, which is the whole point when it comes to managing your energy capacity. So, managing an energy capacity in later life requires 3 things: honest assessment, structured recovery, and biology-aligned scheduling. So let's go through them one by one. Honest assessment means acknowledging what's changed. Where are your peak hours now? Morning or afternoon? When is your thinking sharper? First thing in the morning, after lunch, or even late in the evening? And when does it start to slow? Most people in their 50s have a shorter peak cognitive window than they had at 30. And that's not even a problem, it's just information to take on board. So please use your best hours for the highest volume work and protect them accordingly. Structured recovery means treating rest as a performance input, not a reward for finishing. And this connects to the physical health pillars we have covered: nutrition, movement, sleep. But it also means building micro-recovery into the working day, just like we discussed in routine reset number 4 on stress regulation. And these can include short breaks between intense blocks, a proper midday break that includes movement, or at minimum some fresh air, and a proper end-of-day routine that genuinely closes the working mind. Now, my guest last week, Nikki Antonaccio, put this brilliantly. When you allow yourself proper recovery, whether that's a break, a rest day, or simply stepping away from the screen, your energy becomes more sustained and more regulated rather than swinging between massive peaks and massive troughs. She also made a point that even 2 minutes standing outside in fresh air counts as recovery. So you see, the windows may be smaller at busy times, but they are just as non-negotiable and just as effective. And the third routine to manage energy capacity is biology-aligned scheduling. Now, this means designing your working day around your actual energy pattern rather than around convention. So if you think that you are sharpest between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., then please protect that window ferociously. If you experience an energy dip in the early afternoon, then it might sound logical, but don't schedule your most demanding work there. Maybe use it either for routine tasks, like admin, or indeed recovery and rest, or maybe a task that energizes you, which could actually be client work. Then come back for a second focus period. So you see, this is all about doing the right things at the right times and sustaining that capacity across years, not just across days. Now, I will open up about where I am right now because I think it's more useful than a polished story. I launched my business last summer. Building something from nothing in your early 50s with all the digital demands that entails is genuinely demanding. There are days when I'm tired, like properly tired. But here's the contrast. A few years ago, before my morning routine, before all the nutritional habits, the movement practice, the meditation that I now do, I think I was tired in a different way. Just a flat, low-level exhaustion that did not live despite the endless lay-ins or afternoon snoozes, or thinking about it in hindsight, probably they added to it. But it's because I was not doing anything to replenish. I was just spending every day at work and at home. But now the tiredness has a different quality. Okay. It's the tiredness of someone who's been working hard and building something. And it's followed by real recovery because the infrastructure for recovery is in place. I can go up a hill without losing my breath now for not carrying excess weight. I can look in the mirror and see someone I'm proud of. Or like simple things like wearing clothes that make me feel like myself. And none of that is vanity. It's the evidence that the systems I put in place 4 years ago are working. So you see, you are not too old to build something significant. It's just that you may need to build it differently. The interesting part is that different doesn't mean less or more or worse. Well, let's have a look at what happens to you if your current approach continues. Do you keep pushing it? Do you keep running on a model built for a completely different version of yourself? Because if you do that, well, you might notice that the fatigue accumulates and recovery takes much longer. Then, of course, gradually, your output that used to feel sustainable starts to feel like real effort. And the compounding risk in later life entrepreneurship is not one big burnout. It's the slow erosion of your capacity. Each unrecovered period leaves you slightly less resourced than the one before. And at some point, the gap between what you are trying to build and your body can sustain will become the limiting factor. And that does not have to be your story at all. It only becomes your story by default if you do not actively manage your energy differently. So working with your biology is not giving up. It's how the best later life entrepreneurs build something that lasts. So when do you start managing your energy like the strategic resource it is? Do you think it's before the depletion becomes a crisis? Or is it before recovery stops working? I can tell you that it's not later. It's now, while you are still building and while you are still energized. and you are still in a position to put the systems in place before you need them urgently. It's a kind of be ready situation. So if this has resonated with you, your next step is simple. I'm leading the routine revolution by launching the 52 to 52 campaign, where I'm offering one private routine audit conversation every week for 52 weeks. Now, these are one-to-one hours I specifically designed for business owners who are building something meaningful and want the personal foundation to sustain it. So please visit routinerevolution.co.uk to register your interest and be one of the 52 people to receive this complimentary routine audit. In the meantime, enjoy your later life entrepreneurship, but please work with your biology and not against it. And that is how you will build something that lasts. And finally, remember, a healthier you makes a wealthier you.